Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly and this channel is all about creating print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please stick around. So in today's video, we're going to go over how to create this design right here. This is another graduation design for the senior class of 2023. This one is a little bit more complex than the last one. There's a lot more steps and a lot more techniques that we've kind of combined. So if you would like to learn how to create this design, please do stick around. All right, so as always, we're going to start with our blank backdrop. This is 4,500 by 5,400 pixels. I will be designing for black today. I'm going to be doing another graduation style design. This one is going to be a little bit more in depth than the last one we did, a lot more steps and just more complex in terms of combining elements. So hopefully this is a fun one for you, but let's go ahead and start with a black backdrop. So I'm going to come up to the top left-hand corner. We'll start by selecting black. Now there's a lot of steps for this design, so we're just going to go ahead and start with some text. So I'm going to hit T on my keyboard here, and the first text I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put senior, and this is going to be in all caps. And it is going to go something like this across the middle of the page. I'm also going to do one more text box. This one is going to say 2023, but I'm going to put 2, and then I'm going to enter, and then I'm going to go down the page like this. So this is how I'm going to get my 2023, and it's going to go on the side of the page. Now this takes a little bit of kind of fiddling with sizes and fiddling with fonts and spacing to get this the way that we want it. So let's go ahead and start with a font that we like. Now usually I'm going to pick something pretty bold, maybe narrow, so that I can make it a little bit bigger. You can choose any font that you want. There is one that I'm going to use for this one, and this one is going to be Tico Bold. This one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and make both of them Tico Bold. So this is just a nice bold font. It's pretty simple, so it's going to work really well for this style of design that I'm going to do. So let's go ahead. I'm going to space these closer together because I don't want these big gaps. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the top where you've got these arrows up and down. It says spacing. This time I'm doing line spacing because I want these lines to be close to space, or spaced closer together, sorry. And so we'll just kind of bring it up until we feel like it's spaced pretty good. I don't need it to be too tight, but something like that looks pretty nice. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. I want it to pretty much go from the top of the page to the bottom of the page, and I want it to be, you know, nice and big, something like that right along the edge. And so try to make it spaced as nicely as you can here and here. Perfect. And then what we're going to do is go ahead, we're going to be getting the senior design, and it's going to go kind of right in the middle like that. And so once you have everything lined up pretty good like this, I want about equal space on the top and the bottom with the senior. You can try to find the middle of the page. That's going to be up a little bit higher. That may or may not work for what I want. What I'm going to be doing is layering things, and so sometimes it's a little difficult to get everything exactly the way I want it. Don't worry though, because you know what? After we get everything the way we want, we can always make multiple copies, crop, move things, and so I can show you how to do that if we don't get it all lined up the way we want. I'm going to go ahead and try to line the bottom of the R up with the top of the 2. So I'm going to kind of try to line it up like this. Now this is going to be a frame for me because I'm going to go ahead and use a clipping mask on this part. So I'm just going to go ahead and put senior. I'm going to put 23. This is going to be a frame. And I'm just going to start by downloading the frame here. So download, it's going to be a transparent backgrounds, and I'll get that downloaded. Now I'm also going to want to use pick out my clipping mask. And so for this one, I'm going to make this more of a girl style shirt. You can make this girls, you can make it guys, you can make it unisex. So depending on what clipping mask you use, or if you use a clipping mask, I'm going to do something like a nice pink glitter because I really want it to be, you know, sort of more of a fun girls design. So lots of pink glitter. You can go with graphics, photos. I'm just going to go ahead and go with photos. I like this bright pink right here. I think that looks pretty cool. So this is the one that I'm going to go with. I need it to be on the top of the page. So I'm going to right click on it, come to layer, and now we are going to go ahead and bring to front, and that's going to bring it in front of everything. I'm going to rotate it so it fits the page a little bit better, and then from here I'm just going to go ahead and make it cover the entire page. Perfect. And that is my clipping mask. So up here I'm just going to go ahead and put pink glitter mask, and then I'm going to go ahead and download this. And so we will download it. It doesn't need to be a transparent background, still a PNG. Just go ahead and hit download there. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Now it's actually filled my page as the backdrop because I had it over the whole page. No worries if that happens to you. You can always right click, go down to where it says detach image from background, click on that, and then you can just pull that out of the way. Now from here, I'm going to want to take the senior. I'm going to duplicate it, so I'm going to hit Control D, and then I'm going to bring it up. And what I'm going to do with this one is make it an outline. So I'm going to come to Effects, and we're going to go ahead and use Hollow. And so we can do this a bunch of different ways. I can change the thickness, I can change the colors. What I'm going to be doing is sort of stacking these. So I have to save them in advance, and then we'll do a little cutting and stuff to stack them. So what I might do is start with one that's a little bit thicker. And so something like that. Right now it's at, let's go ahead and make it easy. 48. Sure. And then I'm going to go ahead, Control D. I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit thinner. So maybe it was at 48. Maybe bring it down to a 30. Maybe go ahead and do it again. Oops. Oops. I'm just hitting Control D, by the way. Doesn't matter where exactly I put these because I'm going to be saving each one of them individually. You'll see in a second. So right now I'm just making my different versions. So back to effects, it's at a 30. This time, maybe bringing it down to something closer to like 18 there. And then I'll probably do one more. So I'll probably have 4 versions of this. And effects again, and maybe the last one's pretty thin. I'm going to bring it down to like maybe 10. Okay, so it's gonna kind of look like it's fading out in terms of thickness. I also want it to feel like it's maybe fading out in terms of color a little bit too. So these here are going to be bright pink because I'm going to use the pink glitter mask there. So then for these, I can go ahead and either go sort of pink down to white, or I can keep them white, or I can make them more like gray down to white or into a darker gray. So lots of different ways we can go with those colors. But let's say, let me go ahead and bring up my pink glitter again so I know what color it is. And so for my pink glitter, let me go ahead and layer. Whoop. Send back. I just want to be able to grab this here. I'm going to pull it just slightly off the page just so I have it to reference for the color. So let me start with my first senior here. I'm going to want to make that as close to this color as I can. So maybe something like that, and then maybe I'm just going to take it and make it a little bit lighter. Maybe there. And then we'll go down. So I'll take the next one and I'm going to do the same idea. I'm going to start with the pink that I had here, and now I'm just going to go ahead and maybe we'll make it a little bit lighter still. And that looks pretty good. Then I'll go to the next one and I'll make it a little bit lighter still. And then the last one, and you get the idea, even lighter still. So I could do it something like that. So now I'm getting what's going to go from a, very dark pink down to a light thin pink. So lots of different ways that you can go with this. You just sort of have to pre-plan these designs. So this one, like I said, is a little bit more in depth, a little bit, I want to say harder, but yeah, a little bit more in depth than some of the other ones that I've done or that we've done. Okay, I like the way that looks. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to have to save each one of these individually. So I'm going to go ahead, add a new page, and I'm just going to one at a time bring these down. Oops. And you'll see what we're going to do. But I'm going to bring these down one at a time onto my new page, and I'm just going to save them. So the first one I'm going to save as, I'm just going to call it Senior 1. And we're going to download. It's going to be a transparent background. For this one, I'm just looking at page 2 because I'm just going to download this word here. And I'm going to download that. Perfect. And then I can get rid of it once I've got it. And I'm going to take the next senior and I'm going to bring it down. Perfect. And this is going to be Senior 2. And we're going to go ahead and download this. It's also transparent background, also just page 2. Download there. We'll download all 3 here. And you'll see the way that this comes together. It's not necessarily hard to do. It just takes some pre-planning and sort of knowing what you want ahead of time to make this type of design. This one says Senior 3. I'm going to go ahead and download again a transparent background. I'm only looking at page 2. And then I got my last one, Senior 3. Let's make this Senior 4. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and download this one. And I got them all. Perfect. All right. So now let's come back up here. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. First, I'm going to upload all of those. So I'll go to the left-hand side of my screen where it says Uploads. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and upload my files. Once I've got them all uploaded, I'm going to start with the thickest one here. So I've got my first one here. It says Senior. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it down. I'm going to make it fill the whole page. By filling the whole page, I ensure that it's the same size. And now that I know it's the same size, I'm going to line it up right on top of the one below it. So something like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D because I'm going to want 2 copies of these, one above and one below. Now the one above, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to be cropping this from the bottom about halfway up, so maybe the middle of the E is a good indicator, right somewhere there. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to crop from the top down. Again, about halfway through the E is a good indicator. And then I'm going to try to line this up as best as I can with the text below. And so we can kind of line it up. For this one, it might be easiest to kind of look at the eye and see if I can get those eyes lined up. Now, if you're having difficulty with your mouse, this is where you can use the arrows on your keyboard, and you can move it 1 pixel at a time by using the up, down, left, right arrows on the keyboard. Get that nice and close, and I'm trying to line it up as nicely as I can so the bottom looks nice and lined up, and then the top one again. I'm just using the arrows on my keyboard to line it up as nicely as I can. And that looks pretty good there. And so you can kind of see the way that this is going to come together. And so now we're going to repeat this process again. So I'm going to grab the next senior out of my upload space because I've already uploaded it. So I'll just click the next one. And we're going to do the same thing. I'll crop it down to make it easy to work with. I'm going to make it fill the entire page. That's how I know that it's all the same size. There we go. And I'm going to kind of put it where I want it. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate. So I'm going to put one above and one below. And now I'm going to go ahead and do that same cropping. So about halfway up. So I'm going to crop kind of mid-E. I'm going to do the same thing here. Crop from the top down about halfway, about mid-E. And repeat the process. I'm going to bring this one down and I'm going to try to line it up. Again, just like I lined up the other ones, it should be a little easier because I should be able to line it up with the one above it now. Again, I can use my arrow keys to make sure it's nice and close in terms of the spacing between, so you can see the way that's looking. Let's do it again. I've got 2 more layers to do for this, so uploads again. Next senior. Okay, and so you can see the way that this is looking pretty good right there. Now you could do it just like this. You could just use a solid color through these. You could use an outline around these and make them solid with an outline. Lots of different ways we could go with this. Obviously, we could do this in different colors, or we could keep these all one color and just go thick to thin, Or I could have kept them all the same thickness and just gone, you know, with the color. This one did a little combination of thick to thin and dark to light, so it was a little bit more complex than you needed to necessarily make it. And then adding the clipping mask is going to make just one more layer of complexity. But obviously you could make this design pretty simply just by using a solid color on this text here, by making this just one thickness and maybe just making it go a little bit lighter or whatnot. But you can play around with the style and see what you want to do. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the clipping mask for my senior 2023. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right over to Photopea. If you haven't been seeing my videos recently, I use it a lot. I use it for clipping masks mostly and for kind of groovy text effects types things. Totally free. You don't have to put in any kind of information. Just go ahead, click Photopea into your browser, click on Open from Computer. It will pull up your downloads. From here, go ahead and select your senior 23 frame that you made. Give it a second and it should open up a page that looks something like this. And so here is your design. From here, we're going to go up to the top left-hand side where it says File. Click on that. 3 spaces down, it'll say Open in Place. It'll pull up your downloads again, and this time you're going to pick your pink glitter mask and click Open. Give it a sec. Once it opens, the pink glitter mask should be on top of the words, so you shouldn't be able to see your words. You should only see the pink glitter mask. If that's not the case, come over here to the side. You'll see your layers. You may have the glitter mask below the text, in which case you just kind of click on it and drag it down, or click on the bottom one and drag it up. So that's how you pick your layers, and then the layer that you're working on is the one that's highlighted. So right now the pink layer is on top and it is highlighted, so that's the one I'm working with. So in case you guys have any issues. Here we're going to go up to the top where it says Layer. I'll click there, and then about halfway down it says Clipping Mask. And there you go. So it's just going to put my clipping mask, and that's all I needed Photopea for. So from here, we'll just go ahead and export it. So we'll go up to the top where it says a File. About halfway down, it's going to say Export As. You're going to go to PNG. Go ahead and click on that. Give it a sec, and a box will pull up right here. You can rename it if you want to right there. It's still a PNG, still 4500 by 5400 pixels. Really, all you have to do is hit Save, and it'll save it, and then you can just jump right back over to Canva. That is the only thing I needed Photopea for, so it was really just that quick, that easy, and that free. So I do recommend, you know, getting used to it. There's a few things that I do like to use it for. I'm going to go ahead, go to my uploads again, and then I'm just going to upload the file that I just exported from Photopea. Okay, once it's uploaded, we can just go ahead and click on that, close this. And now we're going to go ahead and put this on our picture right where these are. So I can go ahead right now and get rid of that text. So I needed it as a space saver, and now that I don't need it anymore, I can go ahead, line this up, pull it out, and it should fit pretty perfectly like that. And so you can see it just replaced that right there. And so that looks pretty good. Now, if the top and bottom of your seniors is not lining up well with your 2023, this is where we could crop it and kind of move the 2023 if we had to. So for example, the 2 is coming up over the senior a little bit more than the 3 is going below the senior here. So ideally we might drop the 2023 down just a little bit. So to do that would be really easy. I would click here, I would hit Control D, so I'm duplicating it. I'm going to go ahead and take the top layer and crop out everything but the 2023. And then I can take the bottom layer and I can crop out the 2023 and keep the senior. And now I can take this, and using my arrows, I'm going to just bring it down just a little bit so that it's a little bit more even top to bottom. So let's see, I'm just sort of eyeballing it here. I could also use my rulers and guides, so I have these on the side and the top of the page. If you don't have them up, what you can do is go to File, it'll say View Settings, and that's where you'll see Show Rulers and Guides, and you can click there. So Show Rulers and Guides means I can just go ahead and drag this down so I can see sort of a line, and it gives me a better way of eyeballing that there. And then I can go ahead and do the same thing here, pull down a line. and see how close we are. And so that actually looks pretty good right there in terms of having that lined up nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my lines. I think that this all looks pretty good the way it is. And so now what I want to do is I'm just going to do one more thing. I'm going to put class of. So I'm going to pull up one more text box, and I'm going to hit T on my keyboard. And this one is going to say class of. And I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to make it bigger so that I can see it. This one I'm going to do something like a script font, something that's you know, a little bit different. So these are all nice and bold, and this is going to be a nice script. So the one that I was thinking about using, and of course you can use anything you want, but I did have one in mind. And the one I'm thinking of is called Colombian. Oops. Always helps if you spell it right. There we go, Colombian regular. Oops, done. And so that's the one I was going to go with. I'm going to make it nice and big so that you can see it a little easier here. I'm going to make it a little bit angled. And it's going to go across something like that. Now it looks pretty cool. It's not popping quite as much as I'd like. One way to get it to pop a little bit more might be to put a little black outline around it just so that it pops against the layers underneath. So doing that would be really easy. We'll just use a text effects. So we can go to effects, and here is where we would go ahead and use the outline feature. And I can go ahead, select black for this one. And you might play with kind of how everything looks. I want it to be pretty thin, but just enough of an outline, maybe a little thicker than that, so that it pops against sort of the letters underneath. And so there we go. And so that looks pretty cool. My class of 2023 senior. It's definitely a girl's design because we went with the pink, but again, you could use this and you could do any colors. You could scale this design out. It, you know, it would take a little bit more to scale it, but you could definitely do that. You could make blues, golds, silvers, any solid colors. So lots of different ways that you could sort of reinvent this design and do it a little bit differently. Again, this class of, if I wanted to, I could change the color. Maybe instead of white, I could go with that really light pink, something like that, and see if I could get it to pop that way. I mean, I could even go maybe a really, really light pink, just the tiniest bit of pink tinge to it, but keeping it pretty white, and do something like that. Or I could do a totally contrasting color and do something like, oh, silver, or something like blue, or any other colors, purple. I mean, you could definitely try to make it clash a little bit more, but that looks pretty good. I can go ahead if I want to now, group this whole thing together and maybe move it up on the page a little bit more and center it maybe a little bit more, or resize it. In fact, I could take this, I think I'm going to move it over to the left just a little bit so that these are all really tightly grouped together, since everything's tightly grouped together there. I think that looks a little better. And now what I'm going to do, and this is going to be a little tough because I don't have a lot of space to work with, I'm going to highlight the entire thing. And when I have the entire thing highlighted, I can click group, and it is now grouped together. So now I can take my entire design without moving any individual piece, and I can bring it up on the page. I can center it a little bit better on the page. And so that looks a little better there. I like the way that looks. I don't need this bottom page anymore, so I'll go ahead and get rid of that. And so this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to call this Senior 2023 Pink Glitter, maybe Final, something like that. And then I'm going to go ahead, share, download, transparent background. It's still a PNG. I'll click download, and now this is ready to go. Now something like this, again, works really well on a t-shirt, tank top, clothing of any kind, obviously. Could also look good on tote bags, on phone cases, stickers, if you maybe made the letters darker so that they stand out on a white background. So lots of different ways we could go with this. Might even look good on a flag or some sort of poster that's meant to be like a decoration, like a graduation decoration. So lots of fun ways we could go in terms of, you know, printing this on different products. But that is the technique I wanted to show you. So this was a little bit more of a complex design because we had to use a lot of different techniques in order to make this design. And even still, if I wanted to, I could have put outlines around the glitter text or anything else. So lots of ways that I could still add stuff to this if I had wanted to, but I think it's busy enough, and so we'll leave it like that. If you have any questions about this technique, or again about this niche or Canva or print on demand in general, drop it in the comment section below. I try to get back to it as quickly as I can. Hope you guys are doing well and being creative and getting lots of fun sales and designs. And I hope to see you guys again. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.